Stylist has become the magazine of the moment with a huge amount of influence. And I'm delighted to welcome shopping editor Lucy Reber and fashion director Alexandra Fullerton from Stylist magazine.
So just to fill you in a little bit on Stylist, I hope you know it. We are a weekly magazine with a circulation of 440,000 within the whole UK. And we've just launched an iPad edition, which means you can get us globally if you miss us on Wednesday mornings when you're going to your tube. And we've got 25,000 readers of that. We've had about 5 issues so far, so that's going well. So we, as a fashion magazine, kind of work a few months in advance. At the moment, I'm planning our content for August, July and September, kind of through to Christmas. And we're going to talk to you today a little bit about the trends that we're focusing on for autumn-winter 2014.
I'm addicted to you, hooked on your love, like a powerful drug, I can't get enough of. Lost in your eyes, drowning in blue, out of control. What can I do? I'm addicted to you. What can I do? I'm addicted to you.
So that was just a little catch-up of some of our highlights over the past 6 months at Stylist. And into our trend report. So we've done a chart of the top 5 trends for autumn-winter, which are partly based on what our opinions are, but they've been backed up by our readers and industry buyers and influential people who kind of reiterated that we did have the right idea about the trends that were going to be major for the new season. So starting our chart at number 5. Again, this should have some music. So this is the American classic trend, and when our team was out in New York in February, apart from swathing themselves in thermals and dashing out to buy wellies when the slush got unbearable, because it really was miserable, it was really clear in the first few days of the season what the key buys of autumn would be. Sometimes when we regroup after Paris Fashion Week to dissect what we've seen over the past few months, some trends are one-city wonders and some trends are real standouts. And other times, as with American Classic, which spread all the way across Europe, this is why it's our number 1 trend for autumn. So essential elements that you need to know about are the plaid dress, because it can look charmingly Amish or grungy, depending on how you style it. An authentic looking knit, such as Polo Ralph Lauren's Navajo emblem cardigan, and a blanket wrap coat. You can see all of these trends popping up here at some of our favourite brands. This is real, rugged and rustic fashion built for the Wild West, but it actually works really well on the city streets as well. And just so you know that if you're talking about a grid-like print in reference to American Classic for autumn, it's certainly not a tartan, because tartans are a series of non-repeating, random checks which have been specifically created for different clans and areas in Scotland, whereas checks can be any grid design with just as little as 2 colours. And a plaid, which is what we're calling the pattern for autumn, originally started out as a draped piece of cloth that you would wear, but has come to mean a pattern. And they do mimic traditional tartans, but they're far more regulated design-wise, and they don't have any authority. So although America may be waning as a political superpower, its fashion power is still strong, as this trend at number 5 in our chart shows. So as part of our research, we asked key buyers their opinions, and Ben Matthews is buying manager of Net-a-Porter.com, and he says that he particularly loved Etro's Navajo poncho, Burberry's printed blanket coats, and the Intarsia knits at Isabel Marant. And the must-have accessories to wear with this trend are all suede with fringed details, and you should wear those with a 70s shearling and some flared jeans for an authentic look. And as I mentioned earlier, just to sort of back up the reasons why we've put these trends in this order is all of our reader research. So 32% of Stylist readers will buy this trend. 38% are going to buy a checked dress specifically to channel this look. And the average estimated spend on one single item is £240. Next on our chart is number 4. Sometimes we need a little magic in our wardrobes, and as I sat through all of the fashion weeks, there were loads of lovely things that I wanted to buy and could see myself wearing, but there weren't that many pieces that would make our fashion pages come alive. And if I'm shooting an actress or a singer, and even for normal fashion shoots, I always look for something that has an almost imperceptible dose of enchantment that's going to help create the mood of a shoot. And then on the last Sunday of Milan, Dolce & Gabbana revealed their show, which had a really rough wooden runway. There was a forest tableau bathed in candy pink light, and there was the Sugar Plum Fairy soundtrack. And they had a theme of Once Upon a Time in Sicily, and it was so pretty and magical, it really gave me goosebumps. So when I delved a little bit further into the shows on my return home, I could see that they weren't the only designers to plunder storybooks and literary sources for inspiration. And as well as nodding, well, actually it was a little bit more like a headbutt towards the influence of Game of Thrones, this trend incorporates artisanal craft skills and heralds an era when textiles are overtaking the recent digital print mania at last. Designers really let loose with their imagination and their skills. And one of my favourite things as a fashion director is seeing real craftsmanship in a garment, whether it's appliqued woodland creatures on the chainmail at Dolce & Gabbana, which is in the bottom row, or the hand-painted sheepskin flowers at Burberry, where designer Christopher Bailey looked at the interiors of Charleston House, which was the country home of the Bloomsbury Group, or the intricate symbolic embroidery at Mary Cotranzu on the right. And she used symbols that were no more prosaic than road markings to create her designs, but to me they look as romantic as runes. This is really quite an expensive and opulent trend, but when we tackle it at Stylist, we're going to be doing it in a kind of an epic, incredible way to showcase the magic of the trend. So over to what the buyers thought. Judd Crane is the women's wear buying director of Selfridges, and he says that as well as more classic fairy tale references, designers have each approached the idea of enchantment with their own unique handwriting. From Alexander McQueen to Mario Schwab, Rodarte and Gareth Pugh, these are clothes that have stories, even fairy tales to tell. And our readers agreed, with 36% of them buying pieces from this trend. A massive 67% of them are going to buy an embroidered dress next season, which is a key element. And the expected spend is £767 in total, which is quite high. So we're halfway through our chart now, and this trend for Bauhaus Blockwork is all about the era and a very definite sense of place and very strict proportions. These felt totally new in retro inspiration for autumn. And I have to point out that there's also a bit of a 60s trend going along, all kind of A-line minis and trapeze lines, which personally I'm a big fan of. But Bauhaus and 1930s made it onto our top 5 because it's a totally new era to mine for style inspiration. And as the early 20th century influenced the shows of Prada and Celine, who are undoubtedly two of the most influential women's wear labels of the moment, I declare that this trend is going to have impact far beyond just one season. If you're an art history purist, you might balk at this trend a little bit because there's some artistic license has been used in pulling together all the elements. I can't vouch for every nuance being totally historically accurate, but with so many things in fashion, it's all about a general overall mood and how the early 20th century Middle European feeling has cemented this overall look. So at Stylist, we're going to be particularly excited to lead and educate our readers about the trend because it calls for a slight adjustment to the eye. One of the things that you really need is a long line pencil skirt that hits below the calf, as at Roxane de Ilinchik and Hugo Boss. That will give you this sort of authentically demure silhouette. Then for evening wear, it's all about heavily beaded pieces, as at the blue dress on the right from Roberto Cavalli. And then key are the new prints. So these are really graphic prints, and they should look like a suprematist painting or plans for constructivist architecture. It's all about planes of tonal colour, as at Fendi and D Squared, which are on the top row, and they're going to be key in our kind of interpretation and realisation of this trend. Natalie Kingham was the buying director of matchesfashion.com, and she's sort of equally excited, saying that the embellished and deconstructed shapes we saw at Lanvin, Marny, Mary Catranza and number 21 picked up on these architectural influences, playing with proportions and resulting in luxe contemporary silhouettes with a point of difference. And 43% of our readers are going to buy the Bauhaus Blockwork trend. The item that they're going to splash out on is a long line pencil skirt, and 38% of them are going to buy this trend from a designer or a contemporary brand. Number 2 on our chart is coming up. The Greywash. And this was actually a really interesting season for colour. Some shows majored on surprisingly summery citrus shades. There was a lot of red. Pastels that we're currently besieged by in the shops continue to be cool for autumn. These are all things that I noticed from my notes after the shows. But when I actually looked through every single show, and I did, and every single look, the main colour that was radiating out from my screen was grey, or London fog, as the Max Mara show notes put it far more poetically. And of course there are levels of greyness that you can indulge in, so we've pinpointed the 3 new ways to wear grey this season. Firstly, it's all in the cut, because you need something sharply tailored, and the grey single-breasted trouser suit, as at Emporio Armani, is going to be absolutely key for the new season. Secondly, it's what you wear grey with. If you try mixing grey with brown, as Christopher Kane did and Marc Jacobs did, both on the right side of the slides, this is a very off kind of 90s colour combination, but it was so surprising it looked incredibly modern and off-key. And thirdly, you need to invest in a grey cover-up like Chanel's Tweedy Cape. Making sure that your outerwear corresponds with what you're wearing underneath was a style lesson that we learnt for spring and we're carrying over to autumn. It's really important that your coat doesn't look like an afterthought and should always complement your look as a whole, which this season should be totally grey-based. And we spoke to Coco Chan, who is women's wear buyer of Harvey Nichols, and she says that British designer Richard Nicoll reworked the masculine grey suit by introducing feminine pleats and modern architectural lines, while Jonathan Saunders opted for flashes of metallic to take this look from day to night. She particularly loved the layered shades of dove grey, light aluminium and charcoal at Valentino too. And our readers were really big fans of the colour grey, with 63% of them buying clothes in this colour. 51% of them are going to buy from contemporary or designer brands, and almost half of those readers are going to make a textured grey jumper their key purchase. So we're at our number 1 point of the chart now. So in the fashion world, this trend is all about normal clothes that normal people wear. But apart from being incredibly patronising and cringy, what does it mean outside the realms of the catwalk? Well, it's a rare amalgamation of clothes and mood, which kind of happens once in a blue moon. And I've broken down the components of the trend into 3 major ingredients. So firstly, there is the cultural phenomenon of normcore, which was a New York street trend which exploded in February. And it was all about hipsters, mainly men, I have to say, who adopted the sort of clothes, plain sweatshirts and chinos, that the characters in Seinfeld would have worn in the 90s. Then, at the same time, there was a practical uprising. The fashion pack were tackling the shows in properly cold weather, which made everyone reevaluate their wardrobes. Some people still peacocked for street-style blogs, but most people couldn't be bothered pulling on anything other than jeans and a jumper just to keep warm. Dressing up to get photographs started to look terribly recherché, and the US press in particular were noted to be spending the season dressed down to avoid street-style bloggers. Then to cap it all off, what we were watching on the catwalks was actually reflecting what we wanted to wear, which was an obvious lack of branding, flatteringly elegant tailoring, and a muted colour palette, so you wouldn't be noticed if you ever recycled an item. There were no tricky trends, no weird or ridiculous outfits. Well, maybe 1 or 2, but overall, it was a season of eminently wearable clothes that would fit right into your working wardrobe. And that's what we want to celebrate at Stylist for autumn 2014 with our number 1 trend. Some other journalists have called it a bit of a boring season because there was barely any glitz at Gucci and Donatella Versace dedicated her first collection to daywear. But I think the fact that the previously super sexy city of Milan played it cool was quite revolutionary. That a trouser suit with a coat slung over its arm, as at Dior. There were jeans at Gucci or Chanel's tracksuits, shown in the most mundane setting ever, a supermarket, could cause more of a stir than a slash to the naval gown is brilliant news for us and our readers, who will be wholeheartedly shopping this trend at number 1. Laura Labellestier is buying director of Browns and she agrees. For autumn, her favourite everyday pieces have been upgraded. The peacoat by Saint Laurent, the jumpsuit by 1205, and the tracksuit updated by Celine are the new investment pieces. She says it's not about a look at me look, and you should be investing in the details. And our readers are really going to shop this trend, with 70% of them buying items from the real world trend. They're going to make a peacoat their key item, with 72% buying one of those. And we have an estimated spend on this trend of £973, which is pretty high. So that's our rundown, our chart rundown of the top 5 major trends for autumn-winter. Lucy Reber, who is our shopping editor, is going to talk you through all of the accessories you need to know about for the new season. So I'll hand over to her.
Thanks, Alex. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all today. So, let's get started with shoes. The pieces we wear on our feet on a daily basis are huge business. Mintel estimates that footwear sales grew to 8.7 billion in 2013 as consumers have continued to spend on something which is seen as an easy way for updating any outfit. And it won't stop there. Mintel expects the market to grow to a total of 10.5 billion by 2017. So, like with Ready to Wear, we've rated our trends and fed back from our readers to bring you the top 5 trends in the shoe chart. And first up at number 5 is elevated soles. And this is a trend that makes me smile because as much as people bemoan fashion's obsession with perfect beauty, it's impossible to deny that alongside that comes an exploration into things that can look awkward and most certainly not perfect. This season, the accessory which fills that gap for Engagé chic comes in the form of clumpy-soled shoes. They've, of course, been on the scene for the past few seasons, masculine styles with zigzag treads, flat forms and awkward straps all included. But this season, alongside the usual, we see they've been elevated by designers with unexpected colours and embellishments, such as delicate pink at Jill Sander and metallic polka dots at Suno. Next up, at number 4, we have the Mould Breakers. So this is something slightly weird and wonderful. From summer's art trends, it seems that designers have gone one step further, turning away from painterly prints and focusing instead on the solid medium of sculpture and construction. Accessories are a quick and easy way to update each season, and these statement shoes are the perfect way to do it. We found the majority of readers that are going to be buying into the Mould Breakers will be looking to us for styling advice. So as you can see, V&A's building block heels perfectly illustrate this trend, as do Miu Miu's beautifully stark metallic rod heels in the centre there. Next up, it's the worker boot. Sometimes what's of the moment in fashion is something huge, a really big statement like top-to-toe print or bold embellishment. At other times, it's a seemingly insignificant details. And this season, Zeitgeist decrees that shoelaces are key. During the shows, it seemed every designer had got the memo. Where there were boots, there must be laces. It didn't matter if the said boots were knee-high, high-heeled or flats, just so long as they laced up. Now, a quick straw poll in the Stylist offices revealed that the flat, chunky lace-up boot is going to be the everyday boot of the season. An updated biker boot, if you will. And it was perfectly illustrated for us at the Alexander McQueen show, where Sarah Burton's ethereal creations were styled up without exception in flat lace-up boots. So already, here we are at number 2 on the shoe chart with winter sandals. Now, it's well known that fashion seasons don't always fit perfectly with actually what's going on weather-wise. So winter collections hit stores in July when we're having a mini heat wave, ousting with the bikinis we were hoping to buy for our last-minute holidays. This season, of course, is no different, with strappy high-heeled sandals being top of the shoe chart for winter. Luckily, to combat the cold, designers have added a styling saviour in the form of ankle socks and tight styling. So Alberta Ferretti teamed her lovely olive-hued sandals with traditional school-style socks, while Ralph Lauren went rustic with chunky wooden heel platforms and grey Mars sock combos. You can see Hermes here in the centre also joined the grey sock brigade. And here we are at number 1, and I'm absolutely delighted but not remotely surprised to announce that the top shoe trend for our readers was the Adomed Flat. As a huge devotee of flats myself, I'm utterly thrilled that the fashion gods have given us a whole other season to feel on trend without the help of heels. I'm sure that many of you may have saw our bold April cover where we decreed the death of the heel and filled our pages with skate trainers, cut-out brogues and point-toe flats. So what's different this season? Well, designers are elevating the simple, practical nature of the flat with typically evening adornment. So seen to great effect here at Erdem, top left with their brocade flats, and at the Dolce & Gabbana show, where they're magic slippers with a perfect foil to the pervading fairytale and fantasy theme. So we spoke to Helen David, who's the fashion director at Harrods, about shoes. And she said for autumn, towering platforms are replaced with 60s-style lower heels and flats. The sculptural heel is also set to dominate, as championed by Balenciaga and Dior. And what did our readers think? Well, adorned flat is the most popular trend, with 78% of our readers planning to buy a pair. The readers who will be investing in these adorned flats would spend around £180 on a pair. And where they'll be going for the other trends, well, it's designer brands for winter sandals for them. They'll be looking to contemporary brands for the worker boot and mould breaker heels. And they'll be shopping for elevated soles on the high street. So, moving straight on to handbags. This is the woman's in the UK's favourite accessory, and that's not just my own humble opinion. Mintel tells us that handbags account for the largest share of the fashion accessories market, representing almost 1.2 billion sales last year in the UK. The handbag market is also up 11% year on year, and so growing in importance. And not only that, but they also represent the biggest selling category for many department stores, including Selfridges. So first up in 5th place, what could be more perfect to team with this season's understated grey shades and nautical clothes than an accessory with something to say? Statement makers. During the never-ending flow of back-to-back autumn-winter appointments in Paris, my colleague Kitty and I were in danger of flagging, until we came across accessories that instantly had us smiling, and this was Philip Lim's sleek and expensive-looking bags. They were stamped with slogans, leather purses shouting cash, and elegant shoppers stating totes in the style of our favourite Made in Chelsea characters. A bit of humour in fashion never goes amiss, especially in an easy-to-add to any outfit accessory. So next on the chart, Just Add Fur. Although those that know Stylist will know that when I say just add fur, what I really mean is just add faux fur / ethically sourced sheepskin, because we're all about cruelty-free. But back to the trend in hand. As long ago as last Christmas, I remember a freelancer with wonderful taste putting forward a brightly coloured faux fur clutch for inclusion on our pages. At the time, I admit to being not instantly bowled over by its less than subtle charms, but now, of course, it's straight to the top of my must-have list. And favourites here are Henry Holland's bright fuchsia clutch with polka dot handle, and Parisian brand Pierre Hardy's gorgeous sheepskin rucksack in the centre there. So, straight up at number 3, we have sports bags. So sport, it's a trend that shows no signs of abating, and it's found a new area of expression for autumn-winter in the form of bags. Leaving no aspect of our attire unsportified, this trend is nothing if not thorough. As we all know, the rucksack's been a firm favourite in the fashion packs bag wardrobes for the past few seasons, and for autumn we see the addition of a new sport shape, the bowling bag, and a new sporty texture, quilting. In fact, quilting is everywhere, giving us 19s kids a nostalgic kick over our beloved puffer jackets. So you can see here a duffel hybrid at Chanel, and at Louis Vuitton, they managed to get quilting and bowling shapes in the one bag. So, at number 2 already with urban utility. I'm sure we can all relate to the idea of our bags as a TARDIS-like object, chock full of all our work must-haves. The entirety of Space NK's makeup counter and the ever-essential change of shoes. This season, designers have sat up and taken note of our bags desperately in need of some organisation, and presented us with a solution in the form of the multi-pocket bag. These tool bell styled, no nonsense carryalls are the perfect sartorial solution for the prepared Mary Poppins in all of us. So you can see Merica Transu offered up simple top handle bag with pink pockets, and Alexander Wang went all out with a full-on utility sling. And finally, number 1, the runaway winner on our bag chart was without doubt the Clean Line bag, a pared back handbag, which is the definition of restrained elegance. Falling in with the no-nonsense and Emily wearable real-world trend for the season, these are the bags that you can wear day in, day out, and with everything. The designs come in multiple shapes and sizes, but all share the same unadorned and expensive-looking aesthetic. When it comes to accessories, especially bags, our readers are really willing to invest. Of all the categories that we questioned them about, the Clean Line bag came out on top as the piece they would treat themselves to from a designer. So you can see that we have it perfectly illustrated here at Hugo Boss with their sleek doctor's bag, and with Marnie's perfectly unadorned clutch there in the centre. So, we spoke to Ruby Chadwick, who's the accessories buyer at Liberty's About Bags, and she said our choice of investment bag for the next season will be the Luxe backpack, which is a real nod to the sporty trend and is perfect for the woman who doesn't want to compromise style over practicality. And what did our readers think? Well, 44% of readers buy a luxury handbag every 4 to 6 months. 78% of Stylist readers are going to be investing in, they voted the Clean Line handbag their favourite trend, and 79%, even higher, are going to be buying a Clean Line handbag from designer or contemporary brands. So that's all from us. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to what we had to say today. Our trend report in its entirety, we gave you a slightly edited version here, will be online in the next few days, so please do look out for it. Thanks so much.